And I was greeted by 7 angels. They were 14 feet tall each in appearance. And this is a holographic miniature, so like a hologram of my life. And it's like a table. And as my eyes moved, they showed me certain events in my life. And anytime when I was angry, the example, or many people, they asked, how does that relate to love? And everything in life is an opportunity to express love. And forgiveness is for giving your love away. If you're always out getting things, the house, the car, you are forgetting who you really are.
All right, just a quick heads up from me. When we recorded this podcast, we had audio difficulties with Mark's microphone. And we went ahead, recorded the podcast, and in post-production, the audio wasn't great. I sent it off to a sound engineer, and they've done the best they can with it. When I listened to it, it is listenable, but I just wanted to give you a heads up because it's excellent podcast, excellent content. And if you allow yourself to settle in and persevere with the audio, you'll be fine. And I have no doubt you will get a lot out of this podcast today. So I've published it anyway. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this podcast. I loved it. Mark's a great guy, very passionate, and we certainly cover a lot of ground in this episode today. Much love from me. Enjoy. A bit beautiful. Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor and pleasure to be with you today. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. I love how synchronicity makes things happen, and the podcast is a joy for that. And the way I start the show, Mark, is essentially if you were at an intimate dinner table right now and you sat next to a stranger and they asked you what you did for a living, how would you respond?
Well, what do I do for a living? I empower other people. I empower to help them remember who they really are. That's what I do. That's what my passion is. Of course, my traditional real job is that I'm in the food and beverage and hospitality industry, which I have been for many years now.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And I would have to say, who are we if we are to remember who we really are? How would you define that?
A lot of people will say that I'm a multidimensional being, I'm a light worker, I'm a empowered empath, whatever. But I encourage people over and over again to say 2 words. I am. You are it. You are source energy. You are the beloved of God, whatever God means to you. You are eternal. You are an aspect of one. You're an aspect of the collective. You're an aspect of one mind, one source. And that is that you are it. You are source energy. You are I am. That's where your real power is, when you really own up to that and say, I am, So I've been telling people for 30 years now.
I know, but I guess the challenge is, Mark, and it certainly was for me before I started having direct experiences, it was just some kind of, I guess, belief and unknowingly through being raised and culture and people around me, it was just belief systems without direct experiences. And then there was always a battle to understand who the I am is.
You have to unlearn what you've learned. We're just a result of our programming, but that's not who we really are. We just, for thousands of years, people thought the earth was flat because they were taught to believe that. Just because you're taught to believe something doesn't mean it's true or not. But these things that we have been taught have very little to do with the truth.
Yeah, exactly. So when was your first experience? Were you born into this world kind of knowing the full expression of yourself, who I am? Because I know you had quite a...
I was very psychic as a kid. I knew things about people. I always said that I knew what they were feeling before they knew what they were feeling. I always saw lights around people. I had encounters with ETs, angels in my childhood. And once I was told that I was crazy. I was told Don't talk about those things. Don't listen. Don't say that. How do you know that? Why do you know that? Don't say that. Don't ever say that again. So you really learn not to trust yourself. You start believing what other people say about you. You start thinking you're crazy. So, yeah, but I was very awake as a kid. Absolutely.
Wow. And then you had if I'm not mistaken, you had a near-death experience in college. Was it in
I
college?
was in high school. So unfortunately,
High school.
because I was told that I was crazy, because I was ridiculed, because I was shunned, because I was told, to shut up. My dad was a holy roller. He was a friend of mine, was a Jesus zealot. He always told me I was possessed by the devil. So I learned I didn't want to feel anymore. I didn't want to see things anymore. I didn't want to know things anymore. So by the time I was 13 years old, I was in alcohol and drugs, because that was when it turned it off. And so when I was 16, I went to a high school party 38 years ago. I was at a high school party. I was trying to impress my older friends. So a guy tried me fifth of vodka, 4 beers, 2 glasses of wine, and about 4 wine coolers in 90 minutes. And my body went into cardiac arrest. My skin was green, purple, and black. I was completely comatose. I was dead. I was unconscious on the bathroom floor of the hotel suite in Canterbury in Coralville, Iowa. It's still there. And as I left my body, I was greeted by my grandfather, Russell, who passed away when I was around 2 or 3 years old. It's very common that if you have a grandparent guy, that they make the transition when the child's very young. They kind of become a guardian. They kind of look over after you. And Russell informed me that I was going home. And I just thought I screwed up, adios, everyone. And so we went into the light together, and I was greeted by 7 angels that were 14 feet tall each in appearance. They were female in appearance. And this is a holographic miniature, so like a hologram of my life. It was like a table, and that's how my eyes moved. They showed me certain events in my life. And many times when I was angry, the example of many people, and of course, when you're a teenager guy, that's all that you ever do. They asked, how does that relate to love? And everything in life is an opportunity to express love. Forgiveness is for giving your love away. If you're always out getting things, the house, the car, the Jaguar, the Rolex watch, you are forgetting who you really are. And so everything in life is about love. Everything is an opportunity to express love. And that's easier said than done, because we forget who we really are. We forget the power and presence of God within us right here, right now, today. And we get into the blame game. The more that you blame, the more that you get the same. The more that you blame, the more that you're going to get the same. Over and over again until you can ask for forgiveness and non-judgment. And then they introduced me to a being that was probably about 30 feet tall. It was in the male in appearance. And this being had a lot of love for me. And you guys could talk to me a lot about sound, getting through sound, sacred geometry, the thought of life, and Melchizedek priesthood. And the Bible says Jesus is like Melchizedek, and now forever shall be Melchizedek. And so in the moment, this 30-foot being formed a Platonic solid and was an icosahedron. And my heart, the 16-year-old, entered my heart and brought me back to life. So in New Age concepts, I am a walk-in. So I walked in when I was 16.
So how would you describe a walk-in then? In that, could you expand upon that a little bit more, please?
So sure. I mean, let's say you drive a Cadillac, right? You have a Cadillac CTS, and you're driving the Cadillac CTS, and all of a sudden someone else takes over from you. Someone else becomes the new driver. The car isn't saying, the CTS is saying it has a new driver. I just got a new driver. I got a different soul I got a more highly advanced soul that came down through time and space and took over from my work. The last kid from Iowa left off. So it was an energetic exchange.
So is the energetic system, but was the core essence of you up until that experience, when you died or when you had the near death experience, to the energetics that come into the body at that point? Was it like emergence?
Yes, emergence.
That's then enhancing you, or was it?
It's
emergence.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Wow. That's when you had that experience initially, did it feel normal? Were you scared? Was it?
Well, it's scared to death
how real was it?
Well, I was scared to death because you go back to school almost a week later, and most of your friends are at this high school party, and they saw what happened to you, and I'm still here, and it made the whole thing made me more psychic, made me more intuitive. I started seeing more vivid colors. I started seeing more things. I started knowing more things, and it just made me more withdrawn. So, and I've told the story many times, but shortly after my near-death experience, I had to walk in. I was up in Door County, Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, with a childhood friend, Peter. And one evening, I went to Peter's mom and said, "Look, you're going to call your daughter and tell her not to come up here." And again, they thought I was crazy. And then the next day, that morning, I went to Peter, I went to Peter's mom, and I go, "Look, you have to call your daughter now and tell her that she shouldn't be up here." And they're like, "I know, we're fighting, we're arguing, you're not used to seeing that. It's going to be okay." I'm like, "No, you don't understand. She just cannot be up here. Just tell her not to come." And so they got really upset with me. They sent me home on the Greyhound bus the next morning back to Iowa. And unfortunately, their daughter was kidnapped in the car accident on the way going up to Wisconsin from Iowa. And so again, I was like, "This is crap. I don't want to do this." So I didn't go back to drinking, but I think I slipped marijuana and did some type of non-altering substance, marijuana, something every day for about 16, 17, and 18, because I didn't want to know. I didn't want to feel.
Yeah. So I'm guessing there was no one in your world at that point that could relate to or guide you from that point, like a mentor.
No, but actually there was
experiences.
What I'm going into next. So another friend told me his mom, Patty Little, didn't know all this stuff, and she introduced me to Dick Sutton, who went to Lincoln and Bunny and to be together. It was a Simon & Schuster, that's an author about reincarnation and soulmates. But then she introduced me to Joe Abiani and Jerry Bowman. So Joe Abiani was an attorney out of Boston, and Jerry Bowman was a trance channel. And Jerry would channel John from the Bible, and the Apostles. And I was listening to, and people have probably haven't heard of Jerry Bowman and Joe Abiani, but they have heard of Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine channeled Kevin Ryerson, and Kevin Ryerson also channeled John. And John would come to me when Q and I are talking now, and he would say things like, "We never use the truth to be right. We never use the truth to make others wrong. We never use the truth to score points for evil. A master is not called a master because he himself says so. A master is called master because those who witness him say that he is master. And I would say the kingdom of God is within you. Why do you seek anything else?" And he would say that from a spiritual point of view, not a religious point of view. And you can't see that when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, those things don't seem that important to you. And of course, 30 some years later, you kind of wish you've listened a little bit more, you would have, paid a little bit more attention. But there's, two blondes and two brunettes, and there's all these things that, women are into when they've been trying to obtain some knowledge or enlightenment. So she kind of really steered me back, into this path. Because from 18 to 25, around there, John gave me a lot of information, especially in the dreams.
Yeah. Wow. Do you ponder on or had insights since who those beings were? Because I've had multiple people on the podcast that talk about interactions with different beings of different shapes, different sizes. And through your experience at that point when you had the NDE, do you know who they were or what their roles were?
The angels are just the large being, or
probably all of it, all of them, what you witnessed, because I guess there's many different words that conjure up different belief systems for people as well, even just by mentioning angels or guides or
right. So in general,
can mean
right,
different things.
Yeah. So in general, we are born with two guides, and kind of watch over us from the time that we are born to the time that we leave. And then angels are different than guides. Guides usually, take on a human form, or they've been like an aunt or an uncle or a parent or somewhere in a previous lifetime. Angels are different. Angels are a little bit of a higher vibrational one. They take on a lot of compassion, love, and wisdom. And you can have 1, 2 angels. You can have literally 1,000 angels that are a part of your consciousness, depending on where you're at in your own evolution. It is my belief that they are part of my team. They agree to guide me, that need to be a part of me, or set part of me. Now, the 30-foot being that was male was definitely tied into planes outside of time and space. That had to come down through higher realities to come into this plane of existence, and almost definitely tied into. There's a lot of talk about the Melchizedek priesthood, so I'm under the impression that it was a part of that.
Yeah. Okay. And one other question that's coming in for me is about the relationships, because you spoke about your dad, you spoke about the people around you thinking you were crazy, which drove you to, drink and alcohol, which I can certainly understand and relate to in some respects. Because growing up in Wales, the culture, I always felt like there was something more missing. So alcohol was an easy way of escapism for me. I'm playing rugby, So I'm fine. When you come out of that experience and you come out the other end, and how did you view those relationships with people, and how have, I don't want to use the word heal, but how have they evolved since that experience, and what have you learned from that as well?
Well, first of all, I want to understand that, the first 3 or 4 days after I crossed over and came back, and I had the walk and come out and take over, everyone seemed about this big. I mean, everyone's really small, and it took me 3 or 4 days to get used to being large, to being there. About the 4th or 5th day, all the memories, everything. I'm Mark Pedersen. I'm a sophomore at West High in Iowa City, Iowa. These are my friends and my classmates. Oh, that's my dad. This is my mom. And so the walk-in takes over the identity. The walk-in takes over. And it's not like a demonic possession. There's an agreement. There's an agreement that's made. We give you contracts and agreements, which is, I'm going with to answer your question. It's just a merger of a higher aspect of myself, a higher aspect of my own of consciousness that came through me. So I believe wholeheartedly, and this is in the Bible, since Psalm 139:16, that every day, every deed, every action was recorded in the book before seeing the one that passed. We plan our lives out. We plan it out. John Calvin was the founder of the Presbyterian Church. They used to be called predestined Presbyterians. Of course, by the early 1800s, they weren't around anymore. But you choose your parents. You choose your circumstances. You choose what happens to you in life because it's best suited for the soul to evolve. The word evolve is the only word in the dictionary. The word evolve is my word in the English dictionary guide, and has the word love in it. And that's what we're here to do. We are here to evolve. And we evolve through compassion, forgiveness, and non-judgment. Again, that's easier said than done. And that's what Jesus taught. This is what Buddha taught. This is what the masters taught, was that you're here to love. And of course, I get asked, since I'm in conferences and influence all over the world, and I've asked, well, if God is so loving and God is so great and God is so powerful, why do bad things happen to good people? It's a very common question. Because you wanted someone to forgive. You wanted to let go of something. You said that this time, my soul is going to demonstrate love. My soul is going to express love. My soul is going to express what the power of love can transform. You forget all of it.
Wow.
It's about Immaculée, 1994. She did it. Best example that's on the planet. Rwanda, the Congo Civil War back in the 90s. I think it was 93, 94. She was a story about the woman that she and 7 other people survived in the bathtub for 91 days, avoiding the horrors of the Congo War. 91 days in the bathroom to survive. Well, it looks like what we saw in Nazi Germany. People having to hide Jewish people in the basement to keep them alive, right? Bathroom 7 other people in 1 days. When the dust settled, dust cleared, they kind of found the main guy, the main perpetrator of the Congo War. And they basically gave her like a baseball bat and machete. So do whatever you want to with this guy, we won't say anything. He's a monster. Now, she found a way to wholeheartedly forgive him. I mean, if you listen to the story, it's a deeply moving story. But she demonstrated both the power of love and how it can transform consciousness on the planet. I've seen Lauren Wiesel talk about he was a Nobel Peace Prize winner, Pulitzer Prize winning author, and he was a Holocaust survivor. And he talked about what he had to do and the power of love that was able to free him and transform him. But the power of love means that you don't forget. You don't forget what happens to you, but you let it go. In fact, Joyce Meyer says, she does, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the person that you hate to die. When you don't forgive someone, the anger, the bitterness, the resentment doesn't affect them. It affects you. So forgiveness is about freeing yourself.
Yes. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. I do ponder on what's happening within the world right now, and what we do when we run retreats and workshops and work with people. I always say it's a journey from the head to the heart, and we spend so much time in our heads and we identify with our mind, and everything that we do is so kind of this linear, goal orientated, which we need to operate in Western society, but we kind of cut off the circulation from the head to the heart, and we forget it even exists, and we don't even know how to go there. It's mind-boggling. And my wish for humanity and why I'm so driven from my own experience is to show people there is another way if you're willing to explore, that we can actually tap into this power from the heart, which transcends.
That's the saying. The greatest distance is the distance between your mind and your heart. the longest distances between.
Yeah, and it's the shortest one, but
the longest distance, yeah.
It's shortest in geography, but it's the longest one. Yeah. So, so I guess, where do you see humanity is at right now? Like, every time you turn on the news, there seems to be some monstrosity somewhere around the world. I mean, we've just had it happen in Australia only a few days ago in Bondi with the stabbings and things, right? Like, it's just constant, and it's heartbreaking. And all I wish for is that we could all find our way here to our hearts and be in a better place. But it just seems so much turmoil is going on.
So we are evolving. We're shifting out of 3D consciousness to what people call 5D. Some people call it ascension. I don't like the word ascension. We're not really ascending. We are remembering who we really are. We are awakening to our true potential. We are awakening to our spiritual gifts. It's not that we're ascending to earth, or we're not ascending to heaven. We're returning and restoring heaven back to earth, which is where it belongs. So I'll give you some examples of some really amazing things that are happening, even despite the advances, right? We'll see the Russia-Ukraine conflict, right? For the first time in history, tens of thousands of Russian troops said no more. They don't see the vibration of war is not being supported on the planet anymore. That's why you have tens of thousands of Russian troops just walking away. We're not going to kill someone I don't even know, someone didn't do anything wrong to me. We're not participating in this anymore. Unprecedented. Just the other day, United States, for the first time ever, said we're not going to retaliate against Iran. Unprecedented. 15, 20 years ago, we had already launched missiles. The vibration of war is not being supported on the planet anymore. And also, we know that there are ETs that are very closely monitoring what's going on the planet. And there are countless stories that have been released by the Pentagon, NASA recently, where the ships fly over the silos, the nuclear silos, and turn them off like that. I don't see a nuclear convention happening. Because what's happening is that we have a choice. The choice is either that we are going to run with the dragon, AI, and become cyborgs, or we're going to evolve and break free from the matrix. AI is the biggest threat to humanity. I will say that AI is dangerous. Period. I mean, they're talking about 5, not 15, 20 years from now, 4 to 5 years from now, that robots can take up 40 to 50% of the labor market.
Wow.
They want automation. They want everything digitalized. It's all about control. Electric car's got a kill switch. Turn the car off from the satellite above. AI is a threat. But I believe that towards the end of this year, we're going to see signs that we are really have finally done it. We are really breaking from the matrix. There are groups all over the planet right now that are working towards making contact with higher consciousness with different animals. And it's not that there's going to be like some staged event where the things drop down on Washington, D.C., or over in Sydney, Australia, or over in London. There, people like you and I are going to be contacted. And enough of us are going to be contacted, but it's going to be coming out. And by 2026, not only will there be full disclosure, that they are around us. I mean, I don't understand. We spend billions of dollars looking for extraterrestrial life. All the evidence of extraterrestrial life is right here on the planet, especially in your neck of the woods, over in Wales. I mean, I've been to Egypt 3 times. It's like there's drawings of aliens that have been on the planet for thousands of years. You don't have to spend billions of dollars. It's all right here. That's just so. I mean, in a sense, that's what we are evolving. And we are shifting out of this dependency of electronics and all this stuff. We are returning to really. That's what's happening on the planet. And there's a lot of unseen influences that are helping us inspire us, but we keep being bombarded with COVID still here, the war's going on. So what, in a sense, the electromagnetic field of the universe is getting really, really thin, which happens before it switches. And that's why people are kind of cringing right now, because the electromagnetic field is so thin right now of the Earth.
It's fascinating what you're sharing, and I guess if people to hear that are fully invested in the materialistic world and it could feel so far removed from their reality right now. I certainly don't know what's going to happen in terms of predictions and things, but what I do know is that every time I bring a group of people together and we go into our hearts and we actually work on the I am, who are we really, and starting to let go of the traumas and the things that are shaping our perception in our daily reality, that we're not making choice points from love, but we've been making them from fear unconsciously. Yeah. As we start to evolve that and move through that, there is definitely fields of energy that come in and different frequencies and different beings that want to help, serve, and cooperate. We experience it every single time we spend 5 days together with people, and it's quite phenomenal and mind blowing. So in my reality, what you're sharing doesn't seem like a far stretch in some respects because of the experiences I've had and leaving my body and astral traveling. But we all haven't had those experiences though, right? Like for us, a lot of it, we just kind of accept, believe, and surrender into everything else because we don't know where to go or turn. So I guess my question for you is from this point, if we are getting tired of the matrix, if we are getting tired and starting to feel something inside of us is not right, but we are scared, we are fearful because that's the paradigm. What would you suggest? What would your advice be to, obviously it's a journey. It's not a quick fix of any way, but
no, sure. So
what I'm asking.
The biggest thing is to realize that there's nothing out there. The person that you hate the most is your biggest teacher. There's only one. We are all one, and that the person that you can't stand the most, they're the ones that are living in your head rent free. They're the ones that you need to let go of. They're the ones that you need to start thanking, blessing, realize that they're just an aspect of you. You can't learn to see. The scenes. Jesus was in the scene, and one of the 7 truths of the scenes was that everything in your life is a reflection of what's going on within you. So if you can learn to see yourself in all people, all things, all events, all situations, all circumstances, you realize that the world has come together for your benefit. The world has come together for you to allow yourself to see more of who you are so that you would see all aspects of yourself. And the more that you make peace with all aspects of yourself, the more that the outer noise disappears and it doesn't become very important. And it takes practice. Meditation is the key. To learn to be still and to be quiet. Be still and know that I am. When Jesus said, "Be still and know that I am," it was about you to be still and remember who you are. So, being quiet.
Yeah, no. Ultimately, when I reflect on my life, Mark, when I found peace within myself for the first time, I remember that feeling of just being still and at peace, and that changed everything. That changed the trajectory of my entire life. The choices I made.
So there are discernment timelines, and they remain dormant and based on the actions that you take. There are parallel universes. There are parallel timelines. They're all going on simultaneously. And depending on the choices that you make, depends on what timeline you experience. But they're all right here, right now. Everything is now. You know?
So if we were to expand upon that, so does that mean ultimately my reality, my world, my time can be exceptionally different to somebody else purely because of what I'm focusing on and the choices I'm making? Yeah.
That's all about that too. Carson's information, forbidden knowledge, forbidden knowledge. He's got a lot of amazing information. He's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. It's funny, as a podcaster, my head is spinning and spinning and spinning. It's always like trying to come up with the right the next logical question to ask on that, because it's such a head fuckery, I was going to say, or I try not to swear. But yeah, like it trips me out a bit. You know, so then the other thing with that starts to boggle my mind as well is that, are there parallel means having experiences or other versions of me somewhere that infinite? And is it like infinite where we hold up a mirror to each other and then, you know, it just goes in infinitely?
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that happening at the same time?
So we tend to incarnate with about 20 or 30 people. Let's call it a soul family. And whether you're your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your aunts and uncles, or it could be like you, like me. I'm from Iowa, and I have people that still live in the same neighborhood where I grew up at. And every time I go back to Iowa, I always run into the same 2 or 3 people. Always. For the last 30, 40 years. And that's the way it's always been. And to me, those people are part of my soul family. Now, do we have parallel selves? Yes. In fact, I've been told many times in my dreams that the famous rocker, Sammy Hagar, is one of my parallel lives. I've never met Sammy. I've never said, hey, this is what I'm getting. You and I are like, parts of the same soul. I do know the invisible aliens, though. That's what the song Contact is all about. Love Comes Working, something like that. It's about contact with aliens. Well, I've been talking about that for many years now, that Sammy Hagar and I are like parallel lives. And they say that if you run into someone that's a parallel life of you, you'll either just click, like peas in the pod, or you'll just hate each other. It won't be good. So, yeah, the is perfect. That's exactly what it is. That it's the fragmented light. It's the fractal light that this keeps replicating itself over and over again.
Yeah. So then are they all that information, all that experience is going back to like one soul or an oversoul or something like that? So like if we got all
that's somewhat the theory of the Big Bang. This human form that we have now on the planet was created by the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki, and the topic that we have in Israel and Hamas, or Israel and Palestine, has been going on for 40,000 years. It started with the Anunnaki brothers, Anil and Amil. The remnants, the remnant wanted the humans to remain slaves to mine blood for them. The other sect wanted them older humans to be free. And it's just the same thing over and over again. I mean, it's humanity is insanity at its worst. We got God, you don't have God. We're saved, you're not. We're chosen, you're not. The land belongs to us, no, it belongs to us. Native Americans, guys, there's 3 groups of people that really got this whole thing right. God, Earth. That was the Pumas of Hawaii and Polynesian Islands, the Aboriginals of Australia, and the Native Americans of the Southwest, particularly the Hopi Anasazi. The real connection to God was not there. Your connection to God was the earth. You have to connect with the earth first before you connect into heaven. This is like your childlike. There's the childlike playfulness. But in all conflicts are not for lack. We have to take what you have because we're afraid that we can't get it ourselves. But the truth is, you were lacking nothing. As a kid, I dreamed over and over again. Every day I wanted. Every day I wanted, feeling love, feeling like I belong, feeling when Disney. I didn't go to Disneyland until I was 37, but Disneyland, in particular, I always found them guy in my bedroom closet. Anytime I wanted to feel love, I would dream that I was inside my bedroom closet. All those things I wanted were inside my bedroom closet. Well, 27 years later, you figure out inside the bedroom closet means inside your heart. And I didn't tell anyone. I know my near-death experience sounds crazy. I didn't tell anyone about my near-death experience for 10. I think 2 people knew about it. My best friend, being so and my girlfriend at the time, Kirsten. I didn't tell anyone except for those 2 people. When 10 years later, a guy got a phone call at 1:30 in the morning from one I never met, never spoke with before. She described my near-death experience verbatim in detail. She told me the same thing about sound, geometry, and Melchizedek priesthood. And then she told me about unchildhood dream about being inside my bedroom closet. Yeah. For real.
You make a valid point as well. That it's interesting you say about they knew they connected to the earth first, because it's like as humans we find our earthly experience so painful sometimes. We just spend our time just going to the heavens, almost running away from the very things that are happening in our world, and we're not here now and anchoring in that and loving the very planet that's sustaining our life.
They're lined up. There are millions and millions of unborn beings, of souls, of beings out there that want to experience Earth right here, right now. Because what's happening, guys, that as we reach this point, and we will more than likely shift towards the end of this year, first part of next year, it'll create a chain reaction, domino effect, instantaneously uplift and awaken thousands and thousands of undimensional realities throughout all time and space, and it all starts right here on Earth. That's why Earth is so important. You know that the saying is, Abraham Hicks talks about things about manifesting and allowing. The passion development says you can take that which is not seen and make it seen, that which is not known and make it known. You are transforming the non-physical into the physical. Guess what, guy? You can't do that without a body. That's how important your body is. That's how important this earthly experience is. You have to embrace all of it. You're gonna drink the bottle of wine. You're gonna have one night stands. You're gonna make mistakes. It's all to be embraced. It's all to be embraced because all a part of your growth and your learning experiences that make you rich, that make you empowered. Because if you didn't have that, you wouldn't become the person that you are today. So we get into trouble, guys. What we get into trouble is that we keep telling ourselves our life should be this way. Our life should be something different. Our life should be more. Rather than embracing it and accepting it just the way that it is. And God, that's the biggest key to enlightenment right there. Learning to accept your life just the way that it is, without making it wrong or bad or different, or the way for the shittas. We're the life killers. Absolute life killers.
Wow. Yeah. It's
acceptance.
We live in a world. Yeah, we live in a world that is constantly bombarding us subliminally of how we should live, how we should be, how it's almost like this keeping up with the Joneses kind of philosophies. So it sells consumerism, right?
So yeah, guys, and you'll need to know this. They know that if you're coming from a place of lack, it's easier to control you. Rather than knowing that you are already in. You're already the fulfillment The duality, the fulfillment of this higher power. You're whole, complete, and lack nothing. It's already contained within you, and you just have to remember that, to allow that. But it's already within you. So,
and and it's asked me a question because it might even link into a word you said to me off air, but I'll find out in a moment. But the thing that frustrates me a little bit, or what I see happen, I shouldn't say frustrated, I kind of just let it go. But there's people in the spiritual industry and they're talking about manifestation, and it's all about, for me, it feels like a play on the ego about manifesting more money, more materialistic things, and really doing that dance and speaking to a certain aspect of ourselves, because it's talking to the lack in us, which
right.
I get into. So then, but even when leaning into that aspect, I think about manifestation. It's like, well, if I'm wanting to manifest something in my life, if I'm coming from a place of lack, then I'm not complete before manifesting it. Then what the hell am I doing? Am I really actually manifesting that for the right reasons? Is it coming from a heart-centered space? And is it going to align with what I've signed up for, what my soul has signed up for? Like you mentioned, synchrodestiny is the word. I don't know if that ties into it.
Right. So that's really good, because if you're coming from a place of lack and you're coming from a place of need, neither premium and visualization is going to work. You have to accept that you are already fulfilled. That's what it says, that you shall not have any God before me, because you are already it. You're already, it is already within you. When you come from a place of lack and need or doubt, you can do that so you in the face, and it's not going to manifest. It's about, feeling worthy and good enough, because you don't have to prove anything to God. You're not a mistake. God doesn't make mistakes. You're not a mistake. You haven't been discarded on this planet. You're unique, precious, and wonderful. And it's about embracing that. So synchrodestiny are things that line up at the right place at the right time. I guess I'll do this real quick. So my background is restaurant work. Back in the 90s, at 82 living in Charleston, South Carolina. It's still there. I think I go down there about once a month. And at the time, I was watching the tapes called The Flower of Life with John Melchizedek, about the Sphinx, the pyramids, synchrogeometry. And this guy, this gentleman, comes into our restaurant for 5 nights in a row. And every night, he ends up in my section, which is impossible, because you've got a different section. There's 12 or 13 sections at 82, you've got a different section every night. Every night, this guy ends up in one section. So the last night, he's there, he's with his family. He's got a son in his mind, named Sean, at the time. And this female angel voice comes in, and she goes, "We need you to talk to him." And they're pointing to, his name is Roger. "We need you to talk to him about the videotapes you're watching." And the guy, like, "You're crazy. I've got 6 or 7 tables. I'm in the weeds. We have an hour and a half, 2 hour wait. And then visit each restaurant in town." And I'm just like, "No, I ain't doing that. Like, shit, I gotta work, So sorry, excuse my French. And then so I go to leave from the table, and I get physically pushed back in front of the table by an unseen force. And they come back to me and they go, "No, you really need to do this. It's just really important that you do this." And so I look at him and go, "God, what am I going to ask it? What am I going to ask this guy?" And I look at him and go, "You're not a mathematics professor, are you?" And he's like, "Mark, what did you really want to ask me?" I was like, "Okay." So I'm watching these videotapes about the pyramids, the Sphinx, the fire monuments. Can you then, have those tapes? Where did you get those tapes? I will have to have those videotapes. Like, hey, they're not mine, but I'll call Vince Marie tomorrow because it's late at night. I'll call in the morning so I can give them to you. So let's say I call Rosemary. I'm like, "Hey, this guy is adamant. These tapes, he still think one man was going to have them. So I got him to him. She's like, yeah, I was hitting him over. It's okay. So I made him a couple days later. I give him the tapes to him as Robert. I give him to him and his son Sean. Now, a few months passed, so I don't hear anything from this guy. I don't think I'm ever going to hear from this guy again. I have no idea what happened, right? So I go to work one morning, female voice comes back to me. Mark, I need you to go to your manager, tell her that you've got to go home. I just got here. I got to work. They're expecting me to work. So, just tell her that you're not feeling well. And like, I don't think they can hear him quote line, but I think they were trying to get him to do something. I'll get to it in a second. So I go to the signal, hey, I'm not feeling well. It's okay, but go, yeah, I'm not going to visit me. It's go home. My voice comes back. Please go directly to your place. I was living in downtown Charleston at the time. Please don't stop anywhere and go there. 20 minutes. Takes me 20 minutes to get my place. As I open the door, the phone rings. It's Roger calling me from France. Says, I would like to work with Drunken and Melchizedek in person. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. What do I need to do? He says, all I have to do is show up. Everything's been paid for. Thank you for the videotapes. Synchro wants me. Getting the job at 82 Queen in Charleston. He coming from England. He was living in England at the time. 5 nights in a row in my section. Having the videotapes when I had them. Everything. It's like that because it's the way you planned it out to be. Because it's the way that was intended. Man.
Yeah, beautiful. I have no doubt people listening can relate to that story. That's for sure. Is he the gentleman with the long white ponytail? Is that the guy? Yeah.
I lived in Sedona for 15 years.
Yeah.
Well, he was outside of Sedona in Payne, I think. That's not right, Payne Springs. Then he moved to Sedona. I mean, of all places, I went in the jungle at Walmart or the grocery store. And that, 2 years ago, it's true story. February 27th, 2022, I had a community experience in Publix, the grocery store. For 20 minutes, I'm pushing the grocery cart. All of a sudden, he's getting up and down there. And I'm like, what the? Like, I'll keep a cool face. I can tell that people are staring at me because I can tell that something's going on. I found down and I did up to the living experience at the grocery store. Last month at Harris Teeter, the other grocery store, I'm walking out the grocery store. Boom! I didn't hit this cross right in my third eye. Holy cats, it got me to my knees. I got home, went right to bed. I was out for 3 hours, cold. I had something about me in grocery stores. You can experience God at the grocery store. No, that's what God told me that 30 years ago. God looks just like this. And white and it looks just like this. It's all right here, right now. Yeah.
Amazing. Mark, last question for you to wrap things up. With everything we covered today, what would you like to leave the listeners to ponder on?
So from a new experience that one, you never did anything wrong. I'm going to say it again, you've never done anything wrong. There are only options and consequences. And you don't judgment or guilt or shame that that makes us feel bad about ourselves. We're allowed what you do and what you don't do. You haven't failed at anything. Now, if you now leave for Bermuda, and you arrived 2 hours after I did, you didn't fail Bermuda. You just got there at a different time. Time is eternal. Time is an illusion. And you're never alone. Your guides, your angels are always with you. God's presence, whatever you call it, it's within you right here, right now, today. You don't have to die in order to experience. And that's what Jesus said. He said the kingdom of God is within you. It's within you right now, today. And that is the most important thing. God, whatever you call it, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Sai Baba, Nirvana, Rastafari, whatever floats your boat, that is within you here and now. And the more that you tune into it, that you tap into that, that you experience grace. And you can see the famous psychics of the laws of grace, so you can see the laws of karma. So your law of your wisdom and compassion overrides some of the stuff that we planned out before we came here. But that's the most important message, Guy, is God is within you in the physical, here, right now, today. And don't wait till the afterlife to experience it. You can experience it now. It's right here, right now.
Thank you for coming on the show today, Mark. I really appreciate your time. And where can people go if they want to find out more about your work?
Thank you so much for having me on the show. Yeah. My website is mark-patterson.com. If you don't include the dash, you can go to famous jeweler in New York City. It's mark-patterson.com. And or you can follow me on Instagram it's at Sedona Mark Patterson. At Sedona Mark Patterson is my quote Instagram ministry. All right. Guy, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome, mate. It was great connecting. And just for everyone, the links will be in the show notes below. Thanks so much.